This is Advancing Your Business, Your People, and Your Legacy podcast, where we discuss all things that impact the growth, value, and sustainability of privately held businesses. This podcast is produced by the Rawls Group, Business Succession Planners, and I am Kendall Rawls, your moderator. In this series, focused on Where Are All the Leaders, Aichia Bascaro of the American Franchise Academy and Jeff Bannon of the Rawls Group will tackle unique challenges multi-unit franchisees face in recruiting, developing, and retaining top talent. This series covers a variety of discussion topics, so after you finish this installment, be sure to check back in to listen to the remainder of the conversation. Here we go. So Jeff, as the resident succession planner, how can franchisee owners use succession planning as a tool to better recruit, develop, and retain talent?
Well, succession planning inherently, despite many of the expectations people have of what succession planning is, it's very simply about predictability of ongoing profits. Can we continue to make money going into the future regardless? How bulletproof are we, depending on circumstances? And fundamentally, there are no future profits without leadership. So succession planning is all about people development, people's training, communication, and synergy in an organization to ensure that, the fall of the owner does not mean the fall of the business. Inherently, there are thousands of people typically in an organization, whether it's vendors, families of employees, customers, et cetera, who are impacted by the owner's decision or approach to people development and succession. And it's not just a simple question or issue of I'm just going to sell it someday and walk away. There's a stewardship approach to saying, how do I take care of this and all the people that have relied on it for years and years and years. So whether that succession plan, whether an owner looks at it and says, I'm going to sell it someday, well, if the owner is going to sell it someday, then the value of that business is directly related to the ability to keep profits going in their absence. If the business falls apart when the owner's gone, then he's not going to get much value when he sells it to walk away. So the development of leadership continuity and bench strength within an organization significantly improves the value of the business, which ultimately helps that business owner achieve their goals of cashing in and moving on. Obviously, if the intention of the owner is to transfer the business through another generation, of whether it's a key manager or a family member, then what we want to avoid is simply an owner walking up to the son and saying, here are the keys, good luck. Because I've had many situations where I walked in particular, I've asked one manager in a confidential interview as we go through our process who said, look, 5 seconds after Junior gets the keys, I'm walking out of here. Well, that's not going to work very well for continuing that business. So as a succession planner, the core of what we do is the continuation of success and leadership within the organization. And there's lots of ways to go about doing this. As I've said, there's non-qualified deferred comp plans to lock people in. There's lots of different options to go through to make sure that whether you cash out for a high number or you continue it want to continue it through a family member, we are positioned to achieve top dollar for now and going forward.
Yeah, let me add that, in the ongoing organization, to be able to better recruit, develop, and retain talent, it's, at all the levels, right? So Jeff spoke a lot about the top levels, right? The owner into the next person in line. I remember within a couple of the brands that I work with, when we prepare succession planners in the corporate level, we went from the higher up, from the CEO, literally, all the way through VPs, directors, managers, specialists, like all the way down to the point, okay, now after this level is where we're going to recruit people from, right? And so that succession planning, or that basically, development plan or process, growth, is at all the levels. So how do I go from, being an entry-level employee to go into a, maybe a trainer, to being a assistant, to becoming a manager, all the different possible levels. And I think that to be able to use succession planning or growth, plan, or if you want to call it the pyramid of success, like they did at Domino's, I think that one of the things that is going to be important to be able to recruit, develop, and retain talent is to share that plan, to share that that process in which employees can go through. And you can do that constantly to the people that are in the organization, so you don't let them forget that that's how they can continue to grow. And you can also use that if you have it in a great way that you can communicate it at the interview. So as you're filling in positions, you can tell the people that you're not just applying for this position, but when you join an organization, you're joining the opportunity to go through all this process and get to to the top. And I think that's a great tool to hire people that are looking for that, the organizations where they have opportunities like that. And like I mentioned earlier, the second thing is actually living that plan in a way that it is true, that people can then see that other people are going through that and actually getting to those higher levels as they work themselves through, and they've proven with results. And I think that that's, if you do that, communicate to the people that are in your organization, communicate with the people as you're interviewing, recruiting, and hiring them, and then living it on a day-to-day basis as a real thing, is how you can then use that to be able to retain that talent.
Advancing Your Business, Your People, and Your Legacy is produced by the Rawls Group and hosted by me, Kendall Rawls. Thank you to Aichia Bascaro with the American Franchise Academy and Jeff Bannon, a succession planner with the Rawls Group, for their expertise and content contribution to this series. You can hear more of this discussion on the Rawls Group's website at www.rawlsgroup.com. Thanks so much.